Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here. So it is time for another franchise ranking video today, and today guys, it's going to be another horror franchise I'm going to be ranking in this video, and this is for a franchise which I'm not really a fan of, but only with the exception of 4 films in this franchise. And as you probably guessed by the title of the video and the thumbnail, and also my NECA figure with me in this video, it's going to be none other than Texas Chainsaw Massacre as today's franchise I'm going to be ranking. So I'm going to be ranking all of the movies, which includes the main timeline of the films and also the 2 remakes of the franchise. It's going to be from best to worst, in my personal opinion. So if you guys do not agree, that's absolutely fine. But please respect my opinion just like I respect yours. Okay, so now I even as well own 3 of the films as well, and there's only one more which I'm going to buy when it hopefully comes to Blu-ray if I can find it. But yeah, I do own 3 of them, and I plan to keep. I want to get 4th one I want to get. So starting with what is easily, in my opinion, the best TCM movie of all time for me, which of course is none other than 1974's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, directed by the legendary Tobe Hooper. So this is one of my favourite films in the horror genre of all time. I think it's an absolute masterpiece, and it's just a great movie, and it's just absolutely incredible from start to finish. You know, everything about it is just so perfect, and it's got a great cast of actors. So I definitely love the addition of the main character, Sally Hardesty, played by Marilyn Burns. She does definitely a great job playing her, may she rest in peace. And this film also introduces one of the more terrifying villains in cinematic history for me, which of course is none other than Leatherface himself, who is played in this film by the legendary Gunnar Hansen, may he also rest in peace. And Leatherface is such a disturbing, terrifying villain who I really love to watch in this movie. A very frightening villain in my opinion, especially with his iconic chainsaw, of course, and his mask, which is made of a human face. So yeah, very disturbing and creepy villain in my opinion. Goodness me. Literally definition of a horror character in my opinion. And the film just has what you'd want in a horror movie as well. And it's just definitely a really incredible movie. And it also has a great narration of a start by John Larroquette, which was definitely a great way to start a movie in my opinion. And a very scary music soundtrack composed by Tobe Hooper himself and Wayne Bell, which was definitely fitting for a movie in my opinion. And it's just a really great film in my opinion, which is absolutely perfect and is one of the best horror films of all time in my opinion. And Leatherface is one of my favourite horror villains of all time as well. I don't have any problems with the movie in my opinion either. I mean, the ending of course ends on a cliffhanger, but that of course will set up the next one in the franchise to come, which I'll get into. So I think it's an amazing film from start to finish and one of her horror films of all time. So if I was to give the original movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a score out of 10, I'd give it a full-blown 10 out of 10. Yeah, absolute masterpiece in my opinion. Then on to what is my second favourite in the franchise, guys. I'm going to go with what is, in my opinion, the best one since the original and the best of the sequels. And that film, of course, for me, is none other than 1986's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, directed once again by Tobe Hooper. And this is definitely, in my opinion, the best of the sequels. And yeah, may Tobe rest in peace. Yeah, legendary director who returns to this movie 12 years after the first movie. And it's definitely, in my opinion, really great to watch. And what I think is also great about this movie as well, which makes it, is it frankly does not rehash the first movie by any means that much. And I like the addition of some comedic moments in the film. So this film was definitely funny in a great way, in my opinion. Really was. I had a great laugh watching the movie in several cases, and the cast is also great. The main character, of course, is Lieutenant Boo Lefty Enright, played by Dennis Hopper. May he rest in peace. And this is one of my favourite roles of his, and Bill Johnson as well, also, and Bob Elmore and Tom Morgan played Leatherface in this film, and they were great at Leatherface, but personally, I do prefer Gunnar Hansen, though. No one in my opinion can put Leatherface better than Gunnar Hansen, in my opinion. And the horror is great in this movie, once again, and the characters are great to watch as well. And sure, it may not add up to the first film, because I just said I do prefer Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface and stuff like that, and but it's still, in my opinion, a great film nonetheless. And I'll also say, guys, that in my opinion, this to me is the end of a TCM franchise, as far as I'm concerned, because The film has a great ending, of course, where Leatherface, of course, is killed by M. Right in their fight, because they have a pretty cool fight with their chainsaws, which is actually pretty epic to see, really. And as far as I'm concerned, Leatherface was killed, so... And of course, as well, the leg gets blown up from a grenade as well, which kills everyone who is there, of course. So, as far as I'm concerned, guys, Leatherface is totally dead. There's no way he could possibly return. Unfortunately, that proves not to be the case with what came after. So, yeah, very unfortunate. But nonetheless, I still, to this day, love TCM2, my second favorite franchise after the original movie, and to me, it's where the franchise ended. And it needs to exist because the first one ended on a cliffhanger with Leatherface doing his iconic chainsaw dance. And of course, it ended, and he wasn't done yet, was he? Because he still wanted it, to be the serial killer that he is. So, yeah. If I was to give this movie a score out of 10, I'd give it a very solid score of 8.5 out of 10. It is, in my opinion, the best of what came after the original movie. Then on to what is my third favourite, guys. I'm going to be going what is, of course, the second of the remakes, of course, which is 2006's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning. And this was, of course, directed by Jonathan Liebesman, and I think this movie is definitely a really great film, and is, in my opinion, the closest we've got to the original film, the first two films, in my opinion, after what came after them, of course. And what's great about it is, it's a great cast of actors, and I definitely like the inclusion of Jordana Brewster as Chrissy. That's probably my second favourite role of hers behind Mia Toretto in the Fast and Furious franchise, and an actor called Andrew Aniarski plays Leatherface in this film, and he did a great job playing Leatherface, and I definitely as well like the addition of Arlie Ermey as his character Charlie Hewitt Jr., and I gotta say that he was actually pretty scary in my opinion, yeah, wow. And may Arlie rest in peace. He did a really great job playing him in the remakes, this one especially. This one was definitely really great in my opinion, and easily in my opinion the closest we've got to the original two films, considering what we got, yeah. I think it was a great movie. Now, sure, it may not add up to the first two films in my opinion, but I still think it's a great film nonetheless. I mean, maybe Leatherface deserved more screen time, I guess, maybe, and yeah. But nonetheless, it was still, in my opinion, a great movie. And if I was to give The Beginning a score out of 10, I'd probably give it a very solid score of 8 out of 10. Definitely, in my opinion, the best out of what we got since the first two films to me. I even like to pretend it's a prequel to the first movie as well, from 1974 as well. But on to what is my fourth favourite, guys. I'm going to go with which is the first of the remakes, of course, which is 2003's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So yeah, The Beginning is unfortunately the only one I don't have on Blu-ray, and I want to get it pretty badly. Which was directed, of course, by Marcus Nispel, and I think it's a very good movie in my opinion, and yeah, it may not be as good in my opinion as the first two films or The Beginning in my opinion, but it's still in my opinion a good film, and I think it's really good, and the main character is played by Jessica Biel, and she did a very good job playing it. It's my favourite role of hers so far, and also, so Arlie Ermey is also in this film as a character called Sheriff Hoyt, also once again a pretty scary character in my opinion, and did a great job playing him, and he did a real great job in the role in my opinion in these two remakes, rest in peace, and Leatherface is also as well played by an actor called David Dorfman in this film, and Jedediah that is, of course, and yeah, definitely in my opinion, a great way to, set things up for him, really, absolutely. And so Jedediah is, of course, brother of Leatherface, also known in this film, of course, as Thomas Hewitt. So yeah, and yeah, I've noticed that Leatherface's name keeps changing quite a lot in this franchise, and personally, guys, my favourite name from it is Bubba Sawyer in part 2 of the franchise, the second movie, but yeah. The rest of the cast is really good nonetheless for this film alongside who I just mentioned, but still not as good in my opinion as the first two films or The Beginning, so if I was to give a score out of 10, I'd give it a very decent score of 7 out of 10. And unfortunately, guys, that's just about it for the good films. Now we're on to the films which are the mediocre and also terrible in my opinion. So, in fifth place for me is going to be, unfortunately, the third film in my franchise after the first two films, which was completely unnecessary and disappointing, which is 1990's Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Yeah, I did not like this film, guys. I watched it and I was very let down by it. So, this film was not needed at all because, Leatherface was killed in the second film, so there was no need to do any more of him at all. And he comes back in this film and they don't even explain how he's back at all. They have no explanation for how he's back at all. So yeah, it makes it defeating the second film pointless. And they also as well had actors in this film who I think were wasting my time. For example, Viggo Mortensen as Edward Sawyer. Like, why would you drag Viggo Mortensen into this? Come on. And also Ken Foree was also in this one as a character called Benny. In my opinion, Ken Foree was probably the only best part of the film in my opinion. In other person, I do like him better than Dawn of the Dead, though, to be honest. But I still think he was the best part of this movie for what it was worth. But I really hated how this film completely undid the second film's ending, in my opinion, and made Leatherface's defeat pointless. And the film was also boring too as well, and I just didn't like this film at all, really. But because of Ken Foree, and the kills also, in my opinion, were somewhat decent as well, I'd give it a very mediocre score of 5.5 out of 10. Then on to as well, another prequel in the franchise, guys, which is actually, of course, the 8th installment to be released, of course, which is in 6th place for me, which is 2017's Leatherface. Yeah, they literally just call it Leatherface. So, this was directed by two people, being Julian Maury and Alexander Bustillo. And this film, in my opinion, guys, is insanely forgettable and boring and mediocre. But the only doing quality for me, in my opinion, was probably Stephen Dorff as his character, Texas Ranger Hal Hartman. Probably, in my opinion, the only tolerable part of the film to me. And yeah, so I think this film is just very boring and mediocre and forgettable. I can barely remember anything about the movie, and it just, the spirit of the first two films was not there for this film, in my opinion, at all. The spirit of the remake wasn't there either, because this film was so boring and forgettable. They also didn't even film it on location in Texas either, which is disappointing. So yeah, that was just ridiculous. So yeah, this film, in my opinion, guys, is so forgettable and boring, and I have nothing else to say about it. I'm going to give it a mediocre score of 5 out of 10. So yeah, this film was just so boring. Now on to the worst film of the franchise, guys. So, in 7th place for me, guys, is going to be, of course, the 2013 release for a franchise, of course, which is Texas Chainsaw 3D. Directed by John Lussenhop, and I really hated this film, guys. This film, in my opinion, was terrible. And so this film, of course, acts as a direct sequel to the first movie, which I hate because it's erasing my second film, which annoys as my second third to my franchise. Now, the only good thing about the film, in my opinion, guys, was probably, of course, the opening scene. In my opinion, the opening scene is the only best part of the film, and the only scene I would ever watch if I was to rewatch this movie in the future. And I guess there's also appearances by of course, other actors from the franchise before. For example, Marilyn Burns, who played Sally in the first film, appears in this film as a character called Werner. And Gunnar Hansen, who of course played Leatherface in the first film, he appears in this film as Boss Sawyer. But yeah, this film is just terrible, in my opinion, guys, after the opening scene. And also, it's also supposed to be taking place 40 years after the original movie. And yeah, the character Heather Miller, who should be in her 40s, is played by Alexandra Daddario, who, of course, was way too young for a role. Like, far too young, because she'd have been, like, about 27 when the film came out. So, in her late 20s, that's not Heather at all. No. Horrible miscast, in my opinion. And the film, in my opinion, was just a terrible movie. The only best part for me was the opening scene, and that's it. And when you get it released on home media, it was not even in 3D either, which is disappointing. And the film overuses way too many 3D effects as well, and 3D shots, which is ridiculous. So, if I was to give it a score out of 10, guys, I'm going to give it a very bad score of 4 out of 10. So it screws me all the way. Terrible movie, in my opinion. Then on to 8th place for me. I'm going to get on to what is, of course, the latest release in the franchise so far. And they better not do them after this. I hope not. And this film, of course, is none other than 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if they actually took away the verb from the title and just called it Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This film, in my opinion, guys, was a massive disgrace to a franchise, absolute garbage, and I watched it, of course, because it got dumped onto Netflix, of course, which is not a shock, in my opinion, because Baz is going to suck. And this one was just a complete waste of time. It was absolutely terrible, in my opinion. Like, there's so many bad things about it. The only redeeming quality I can say is the kills were graphic, I guess, and some of the scenes were quite scary, I guess, but it's not saying much, though. And honestly, this film is just a massive disappointment. And I guess maybe John Larroquette, of course, narrates the film like he does as well. His narration is probably one of the few redeeming qualities of this movie, in my opinion. But what's bad about it is I couldn't care less about any of the protagonists in this movie. They're very annoying, in my opinion. And the film also, in my opinion, had a very cringy design for Leatherface as well in this movie, in my opinion. And not only that as well, but the film also has a very dumb scene in the bus where there's loads of students there who are having a party. Leatherface comes onto the bus and they don't even attempt to run at all. They just take pictures of him. And they don't even climb out a window or smash a window or anything like that. No, they just stand there. What's also worse is one of them actually says to Leatherface, "You're going to get cancelled, bro." So, like, when I heard that, I raged because I'm one of those people, guys, that absolutely despise cancel culture. I despise it. Hearing that in the film made me rage in anger. And also as well, guys, the film also as well brings back Sally, who was played in this film by Alwyn Furre, because Marlon Burns unfortunately passed away in 2014, may she rest in peace. But the film, in my opinion, ruined Sally because she hardly appeared in a movie, and she wasn't even prepared enough for Leatherface to return. And guess what, guys? He kills her. So, like, oh my God. Like, how dare you do that to Sally? Goodness me. Yeah, this film was just a complete waste of time, and the ending is also dumb as hell because rather than behead Leatherface when he's knocked down and they think he's been killed, they leave his corpse behind, or so it's believed, because he comes out later and he kills one of the two sisters that is escaping. Because he drags Melody out of our car and decapitates her. While the character called Lila gets dragged away in a self-driving car. Yeah, it screws me all the way. Terrible film in my opinion. So, if I was to give it a score out of 10, I'd probably give it a very bad score of 3 out of 10. And I really don't do any more after this because this film completely killed my interest in the franchise. So I'm not going to watch him after this. Hell no. But now, we get to what is, of course, the worst of the worst for me. And also, guys, you know how I said before, one of my rankings, but fan thought it was the worst one I've ever seen in my life? Well, guys, what's coming next in this ranking achieved the impossible, somehow, of now being the worst one I've ever seen in my life. Which is none other than 1994's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation! This is easily, in my opinion, the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. This film is beyond trash from start to finish, and it's also, in my opinion, guys, a film where, in my opinion, there is absolutely nothing good about it. Nothing. Because this film is absolutely abominable from start to finish. Directed by Kim Henkel. So, there's nothing good about the movie, in my opinion, and the film stars Renée Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey in roles, and it's in their early roles. So, now, people have been saying, guys, that apparently Matthew's character was the best part of the film, but for me, guys, I do not agree in the slightest, because his character called Vilma is the worst character I've ever had the torture of watching on a screen, ever. He was so annoying from the moment he first appeared, and I hated him in his whole screen time. Oh, I feel bad for Matthew. Thankfully, he's got better in the years while as an actor, of course, thankfully. So is Renée Zellweger as well, and this film is just complete trash, in my opinion. And the film also, as well, horribly ruins Leatherface beyond all belief. Like, they gave him a very cringy costume, and they make him, you know, act nothing like Leatherface at all. And don't you dare get me started on the scene at the end of the film where he screams like that. Like, that is just pure torture to watch. Like, I'm thinking, shut up! That, to me, guys, is not Leatherface. In my opinion, it's a horrible imposter. And the characters in this film, I could not care less about all. All the characters in this film were so unlikable and annoying. Not one character I liked in the film at all. None of them. And the effects were also trash as well. The acting was also horrible, in my opinion. Like, what the hell was that? And also, don't get me started on the scene where Vilma barks like a dog. Like, what the hell was that scene? Oh my God. And how he jumps out the window and goes, pew! Like, what the hell was that? Like, it's just beyond cringe and torture. Like, if you guys have not seen this film, then please, for the love of God, don't watch it for your own sake, because it's horrible. If you don't want to see Leatherface get ruined, then please don't watch this film for your own sake. I'd recommend just watch the first 2 films and then go to a remake, and that's it. Don't watch anything else for your own sake. Because this film, guys, is the worst film I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely despise it. It's horrible from start to finish. It has a horrible beginning as well, because there's a disgusting scene which I'm not going into detail about, because it's horrible in my opinion. But yeah, for your own sake, guys, don't watch this film, because you're wasting your time, in my opinion. You're really wasting your time if you see this film, because it's absolutely trash from start to finish, so yeah, don't watch it. Yeah, this film is just complete trash, and when I get around to reviewing movies in the future, this will get a mega trash score, because it's the worst one I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, if I was to give it a score out of 10, if I could give it the highest, lowest number possible out of 10 below 0, I would. But to be specific, guys, I'm going to give it a score of below 0 out of 10. Because there's nothing good about it, in my opinion, at all. So you screw it all away. It's complete garbage from start to finish, an absolute abomination. And I will never watch these bad films in the franchise again until, of course, I rewatch them for their trash talks in the future. So yeah, screw them all away. Anyway, though, guys, so that's me doing my ranking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre from best to worst, in my opinion. So, of course, as I've touched upon in this ranking, in first place for me, of course, is the original movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Second place, of course, would be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Third place would be the second remake, of course, which is The Beginning. My fourth favourite, of course, would be the 2003 remake, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then in fifth place for me, of course, would be the third movie, Leatherface TCM 3. Sixth place would be Leatherface 2017, which isn't a shock, because that year was a bad film to begin with. Seventh place would be Texas Chainsaw 3D, or if you're watching a home release like I did, it's just Texas Chainsaw. Eighth place would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2022, which was complete trash and killed my interest in the franchise. Then in last place, and most definitely in least place, because the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, The Next Generation. Oh, terrible film in my opinion. Yeah, screw it all away. Don't watch it for your own sake. You'll be saving yourself from lots of pain if you don't see it. Just watch the first ones in the remake, and also I'd recommend as well to play Mortal Kombat X, because Leatherface is in that too as well. He's done a way better in that than all the films in my opinion too. So you know, drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to leave in the comments what you guys think, how you guys would rank the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. I'd love to hear you guys would rank the movies from best to worst or weakest in your opinion. Also, be sure to join the team by pressing subscribe if it's from the future. If you'd like to be a member, you can start using a piece out of your description, and I'll see you all later.